This is the history of the development of punk rock on the Lower East Side of New York City from 1950 to 1975. We start with Harry Smith in 1950, a beatnik weirdo living in New York City. His huge collections were insane, of Easter eggs and paper airplanes, and rare records. He had about 1,060,000. To change America through music was his hope, and to make some money because he was broke, he compiled a triple-decker collection of songs from his records, released as the Smithsonian Anthology of American Folk. On a Monday morning, just about 9 o'clock, the great ship Titanic began to reel and rock. Husbands and wives, little children lost their lives. Wasn't it sad when that great ship went down? Smith's plan began to work as foretold. This weird music began to take hold. It sparked an interest in these forms of life underground from the norms, and soon millions of folk records were being sold. By the early 60s, Dylan, Joan Baez, Phil Oakes were very inspired by those old folks. Then one strange folk band downtown, called the Holy Modal Rounders, began to make it more anarchistic with weird voices and drug jokes. Mom's out there, switching in the kitchen, and dad's in the living room, grousing and bitching. I'm out here, kicking the gong for euphoria, euphoria. When your mind starts wheeling and walking, your inside voice starts squealing and squawking, floating around on a melodic cloud, singing euphoria. In 1965, the Holy Modal Rounders met some other beatnik intellectual thugs on East 10th Street who called themselves the Fugs. The Fugs were recorded by Harry Smith, playing the punkiest songs yet to exist. Lo-fi, noisy shit about poetry, sex, and drugs. I don't have a bedtime, I don't need to come, for I have become an amphetamine bum. If you don't like sleeping and don't want to screw, then you should take lots of amphetamines too. In 1966, the Fugs signed to New York label ESP. The same label put out a band called The Gods, spelled with a Z. The Gods accomplished the feat of making even the Fugs' music sound sweet, with the least musical folk punk racket in history. Meow, 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 meow. Far from the West Coast hippie scene, New York underground music was far from mainstream. It was intellectual, but noisy and hectic. And then the Velvet Underground went electric and made folk punk more beautiful and more extreme. I'm waiting for a man. $26 in my hand. Up to Lexington, 125. Been sick and dirty, more dead and alive. I'm waiting for the band. Nothing could stop New York's strange folk punk tide. In 1968 came David Peel and the Lower East Side. They recorded an album in the street, screaming and sloppy. They were signed to Elektra Records, and it sold a lot of copies, with songs like I Like Marijuana and Up Against the Wall, Motherfucker, inside. Mother, where is my father? Where is my brother? They're at war. They're at war. You made them try to turn the U.S. on me. You told them all your filthy white lies. You gave them all the bullshit and baloney. Now my father and my brother gonna have to die. And the Stooges were a freak-out band in Detroit, but folks ignored them until they were brought to New York so the Velvets could record them. While most acid rock was turning into progressive, the Stooges instead pushed the raw and aggressive, And Iggy Pop sang about degradation and boredom. Well, it's 1969, okay? All across the USA. Another year for me and you. Another year with nothing to do. What's another year for me and you?